He's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure.
This may be the last time we see our legend, the greatest fighter of this generation. I told y'all back then that Bud would beat Floyd Mayweather. Y'all didn't believe me.
He could do it. But what I'm saying is, if you have a victory over this man that just doesn't, what for what? Terence Crawford, we know what you want.
Boxing fans and analysts are now calling Terence Crawford the GOAT after his incredible win over Canelo Alvarez. Many say the way he climbed through weight divisions and still dominated is extremely rare, putting him above legends from the past. Robert Garcia supported this by saying Crawford has achieved more than even Floyd Mayweather in this area. He explained that Crawford clearly won 9 or 10 rounds and showed a hunger that Canelo just couldn't match. Garcia also added that Mayweather never faced a challenge like this, which makes Crawford's victory even more historic.
Has already accomplished too much, has already done too much, and he wasn't, I don't see that hunger in him anymore. I don't see those changes anymore. He fights flat-footed, throws 1 punch at a time. He's not fast anymore, and that's why I picked Crawford by decision.
Are you surprised how easy it was?
Look, not that I'm surprised, because what I just told you, I think Crawford is very talented, and Crawford is hungry to become a legend. He wanted to become that three-time, 3-division undisputed. He wanted to make history by going up 2 divisions to beat Canelo, one of the greatest of all time. So he was hungry for it. I think Canelo has already done so much, has made so much money that he's not hungry anymore.
Do you think possibly that Crawford is up there with Pacquiao or Mayweather?
I think in accomplishments, he's three division undisputed, moved up 2 divisions to beat Canelo. So he's probably he's accomplished more than Mayweather for sure. Mayweather never became undisputed, but that doesn't mean he's better than Mayweather. I think in a fight at welterweight, Mayweather in his prime would beat Crawford, and Pacquiao in his prime would probably beat Crawford. But Crawford has accomplished more.
Do you think Crawford should retire after this or fight someone else?
Look, I think a rematch would be fucking good for Crawford to just beat him again and do the same thing if Canelo doesn't have any changes. If he needs to do a lot of changes. Canelo needs to do a lot of changes.
Greg Hackett didn't hold back when people said Crawford needs another big fight to prove his greatness, especially when Turki Alshik brought up a possible match with David Benavidez. Hackett argued that Crawford already earned his place in the Boxing Hall of Fame by moving up in weight and dominating Canelo Alvarez, something few expected him to do so clearly. To Hackett, this was more than just a victory. It was the fight that defined Crawford's whole career. He pointed out how rare it is for a fighter to leap from welterweight to super middleweight and defeat one of boxing's biggest stars. Hackett believes this single fight shows all you need to know about Crawford's greatness. He doesn't think Crawford has to face Benavidez or anyone else to prove anything. One fight can say it all, and that's exactly what his win over Canelo did.
Knievel effect, right? All right, you jumped over 3 buses. Let's say if you could do 10 buses. You know what I'm saying? He trying to test his limits, and he think the money is going to keep getting him out there. That fight is pointless. The fight is pointless because nobody ever talked about that fight until now. And then I don't feel like Bud needs a Benavidez. And then that would mean Benavidez would have to go into a different body and bring himself back down to 68 when he's already getting settled in at 175. And you know, I believe Benavidez had some tough tasks in front of him that he want to conquer before he even talking like that. I don't even think he wanted to talk like that because there's really no point. He wanted the Canelo fight because Canelo was the man at 68. He was at 68. I don't think he cared about fighting Bud, and I don't think Bud cared about fighting Benavidez. That's just Turkey trying to pull rank. So Turkey trying to show he got a golden arm. You know what I mean?
I understand that Turkey likes to make these big grand events, but there's a boxing aspect to this shit too. Like some stuff gotta make boxing sense. Bringing a dude down that's been comfortable at 75, bringing him back down to 68, and then having him fight a dude that just jumped 3 weight classes and 2 fights and starting his career off at 35.
Right.
Like, no, bro. No.
Yeah, I don't want to see that fight. There's no point. There's no point. Like I said, Bud need to just go get his line of suits. You know what I'm saying? Get ready to just start talking about this shit.
What kind of suit?
I don't know what's the best.
Showbiz the adult called Crawford's win one of the most incredible things ever seen in modern boxing. He was amazed at how Crawford went from welterweight to middleweight and finally up to 168 pounds, all while sticking to a perfect game plan to beat Canelo Alvarez. Showbiz said this win didn't happen by luck. It was the result of smart planning and perfect execution. He explained that everything about the fight felt like it was meant to happen. Crawford looked sharp, focused, and ready like never before. In Showbiz's opinion, Crawford doesn't need to prove anything else. This was the fight, the one that showed the world who Crawford really is. He believes that after such a dominating performance, there's no need for Crawford to take on more challengers. He's already proven he belongs at the top.
Thoroughly just knew there was no way Terence Bud Crawford beat Saul Canelo Alvarez at 168. Canelo Alvarez was the super middleweight undisputed champion and younger. Terence Crawford was 26 at lightweight. Canelo Alvarez at 26, what was he, a middleweight? Terence Bud Crawford just grew to 154 at 36 years old. Canelo hasn't been able to make 154 since he was a baby. Terence Bud Crawford jumped up from welterweight to super middleweight to beat one of the greatest fighters of all time, to become 3-time undisputed in 3 different weight classes. Enough said.
Enough said.
It shed light on his victory against Errol the Truth Spence. That is for damn sure. Just the way he dominated him. Errol Spence was in there like, what the? If Canelo is saying there wasn't shit I can do in there, Errol Spence had to have been in there like, holy shit. It brings light to his resume. Everybody does it. We kind of knew that Bob Arum had Manny Pacquiao avoid Terence Crawford. I can't say Manny Pacquiao avoided Terence Crawford, but Bob Arum definitely did. PBC, welterweights in the PBC, all avoided him. I am here to give credit to Terence Crawford for being one of the most dubbed fighters in history. So you cannot any longer blame his resume, his greatness, and look at his resume when we all know, genuinely, we have to be genuine, that he is one of the most dubbed fighters of all time, like Bob Foster, like Black Murderers Row, Charlie Burley, and Eddie Booker, and all those guys. Listen, Terence Crawford by himself is Black Murderers Row of this era. Now, do I need Terence Bud Crawford to continue fighting? Hell no. For what? If you beat Terence Crawford now, what do you want him to strip down to 160, lose that muscle mass he has, and be a little bit? We saw that with Roy Jones Jr., but he can do it. He's the everything man. He can do it. But what I'm saying is, if you have a victory over this man now, just does it.
Tim Bradley has always said Terence Crawford is one of the greatest ever, and after this fight, he feels completely proven right. He reminded everyone that he has long called Crawford the toughest fighter in boxing, and the way Crawford handled Canelo Alvarez showed exactly why. Bradley said many doubted Crawford because they thought he was too small for the higher divisions, but instead of just surviving, Crawford dominated with surprising ease. Bradley described the performance as so smooth it looked more like a sparring session than a real fight against one of boxing's hardest punchers. He believes this win puts Crawford on a whole new level, even comparing him positively to Floyd Mayweather. Bradley says the victory changes the entire conversation from whether Crawford is great to whether he's the greatest ever. This wasn't just about beating Canelo. It was about redefining pound-for-pound greatness.
Terence Bud Crawford, the baddest man on the planet. Y'all saying, no, he too small, Tim. He too small. man. That was easy. That was easy. That was more easier than I thought. Terence said he was gonna have him crying, and he had him crying when they was walking out. They was crying. Oh yeah, they were damn crying. They was upset, head was down. They couldn't believe what they just witnessed. Oh yeah, boxing performance. I told y'all this was gonna be one of the greatest boxing performances of all times. I told y'all. Y'all didn't believe me. You over here, you riding Crawford. You riding him like he God. You riding him like he invincible, all this stuff. You don't see that greatness now? You don't see that greatness? Yeah. Hey, go ahead and hop on the train. It might be too late now. It might be too late, because guess what? He done. Ain't nothing else he needs to do. Ain't nothing else he needs to do in boxing. Yep. Y'all doubt him now? Y'all doubt him now? You see, I saw some of y'all goofies on y'all channels. You come here and you get the real over here. That's what you get over here. You want the real? You want a real breakdown from a real fighter, a Hall of Famer? That's what you do. You come right here and you gonna get the real and you gonna get the truth. Dang it, that's what you gonna get. Leave them other lames alone and come right on over here. Yeah, and get the truth and nothing but the truth. I've been trying to tell y'all for years about this. Been trying to tell y'all for years about Terence Crawford. Everybody put his resume down.
Luke Thomas called Crawford nothing less than a boxing genius. He reflected on how Canelo Alvarez, a fighter often compared to the all-time greats, was made to look ordinary by Crawford. Thomas said it reminded him of Crawford's early days when he beat Ricky Burns. Only now it happened on a much bigger stage. Canelo isn't just any boxer. He's one of the most skilled and accomplished of this era. Yet Crawford dismantled him with precision. Thomas explained that it wasn't only about the win, but how Crawford read every move, timed everything perfectly, and shut down Canelo's entire style. He described it as a masterclass that left even seasoned analysts in awe. The fact that Crawford made someone like Canelo look so average is exactly why Thomas says he's one of the smartest fighters the sport has ever seen.
Wasn't working. Or they were like, threatened in some kind of way. It was fucking Canelo. Canelo had some good punches in this fight. I thought early on that left hook to the body, which he got away from in the middle parts of the fight, got back to it a little bit at the end, but again, he was catching and shooting was a big part of why that went away. Bud was like, bop, catching him for it. Several times he hit him with that. Canelo had a decent jab at times. That right hand was able to catch Bud cleanly a couple of times, but not really. Bud's face looked normal, fine. You would never have known he went 12 rounds. Remarkable beyond words, man. Remarkable. That is so, I fucking hope and pray that everyone who is I don't know what the casuals are gonna say. I really don't. But for the real fight fans, the ones who are probably watching the stream, I hope you appreciate what you just took a look at. Daring to be great. Daring to do what people just people have unified, or I should say, I've gone undisputed in 3 weight classes before, but it's exceedingly rare, right? And to go up such a fucking jump. And let's go over one more thing if we can here for just a moment. One of the things that Bud has been trying to argue is that the boxing establishment has overlooked him. He was never their darling. He was never the guy that they picked. He was never the one that they chose ahead of time. And we're like, we're going to anoint you as our figure. He was never that guy, that was not him. And beating Spence got him a pretty far away in terms of changing attitudes, but Canelo was the big one. Because Canelo was that guy. Now, Canelo, of course, earned everything he's gotten too. That's not the point. But what I'm trying to say is Canelo was the promotional darling. Hello, the face of boxing. You know what I mean? And not just the face of boxing in this country, the face of boxing in another country. Dude, this motherfucker was the face of boxing worldwide, but in particular in North America, right? And something of a promotional darling, and always the A side, and this, that, and the other. And that was not Crawford's journey, man. That was not Crawford's, he was fighting the Ricky Burns of the world. That was not his.
Edo Ladipo looked at the fight in a more straightforward way. He said Crawford has already achieved everything a boxer could hope for, from winning titles in multiple weight classes to beating a superstar like Canelo Alvarez. Because of that, he doesn't see a rematch happening anytime soon. In Oladipo's opinion, Canelo doesn't seem like he should step in the ring with Crawford again. He suggested that Canelo might be close to the end of his time at the very top, and putting him in another fight with Crawford wouldn't really do much for the sport.
Benavidez is the complete opposite. Benavidez is massive for 168 pounds, hence why the 175 jump isn't even a jump, it's normal for him. And he's coming not at the end of his career, he's coming into the peak of his career. So, I don't know, man. If Crawford were to take that one, geez, I mean, this guy's got balls of steel. Balls of steel. Is that financially the biggest fight out there for him? Probably. Especially if Benavidez puts a beating on Yard. I mean, you sell it more, it's another crossover Mexican Mexican-American, African-American, those things always...
Still, Oladipo pointed out that David Benavidez is a massive and dangerous opponent, even bigger than Canelo, and could be a real challenge if Crawford wants to keep testing himself. But even then, Oladipo leaned toward saying Crawford doesn't need to do anything more. Sure, a fight with Benavidez would be huge, but it's not something Crawford needs to secure his legacy. He's already proven enough.
Against Crawford, I don't know if there was a rematch clause in that fight. I guess there probably would have been. I mean, if you are undisputed at 168 pounds, I think you'd be stupid not to put a rematch clause in there. So look, he might go back to the drawing board, go back to his camp and say, can we beat Crawford? Like, have an honest conversation with Eddie Reynoso and the other trainers in that camp and say, can we beat him? And if we can, where did we go wrong? Can we fix it in time to get in the ring with him again in 7 or 8 months? And if Eddie says no, then there has to be a real conversation of, okay, what's the point then? What's the point? What else is out there? Like, it's been so long that Canelo's not fought for a world title. It's even weird for me to even think about Canelo fighting and it not being for a world title.
One boxing analyst broke down Crawford's performance from a technical view, saying it wasn't just about the win, it was about how he achieved it. Crawford's movement in the ring was smooth and calculated, allowing him to control the pace from the very beginning. He used angles so effectively that Canelo often found himself stuck, unable to throw his usual punches. One of Crawford's biggest tools was his jab, timed perfectly, which kept Canelo off balance and created openings for sharp counter shots.
Surprised a lot of people, but in the same time, the pivots, the angles, he really didn't just move all the way around the ring. I think he did almost anything that he wanted to do in there, right? Yeah, there was lots of rounds that were like in the bank early, so he didn't really, mix it up. But there was certain points in the fight that he was trying to get Canelo out of there. And wow, it was amazing to see, what all these other guys were able to do with Canelo. And Terence Crawford does something completely different. Beats him way better than Mayweather ever did. Beats him way better than Bivol ever did. He took his soul in the ring. He had no idea what to do.
Everything Crawford did looked intentional and aimed at breaking down Canelo's game plan. The analyst admitted that most experts never expected such a one-sided performance, especially with the size and power gap between them. But Crawford showed that with sharp fundamentals and a high-ring IQ, even the toughest challenges can be managed. That's why the analyst believes this wasn't just a victory. It was one of the most brilliant showcases of skill in boxing history, something people will study for years to come.
Defense was on point. He was seeing shots come. And one of the biggest factors I said, listen, the way Terence Crawford catches his shots on the glove is top tier. And I was really nervous at the fact that, how is his body frame going to be able to, take it? And when he caught some of those shots and he was so planted, Canelo moved after his shot versus him. And I said, Terence Crawford's like a tree trunk when it comes to catching some of these shots. He's very prepared, and you don't even know how like calm and collective you need to be able to take, catch those shots. So salute to Terence Crawford. I think that Canelo Alvarez didn't even win a round, man. It was that much of a whooping